So as I film this here in the UK, we're about to head back out of lockdown again, and there's lots of talk about us returning to offices and what the future of work is going to be, how much time we'll have to spend in the office, how much time we'll spend at home or at our clients, and it's kind of known as hybrid working. So throughout the video I'll refer to hybrid working, and that's kind of what I'm talking about, but obviously it's going to look different for everybody depending where you work, how you work, what your expectations are. Some firms are saying no one ever has to return, some firms are saying you've all got to go back as was, so it'll probably end up somewhere in the middle for most of us, but I think there's a real risk for women around what that can mean for our careers and our development and how we move forward. So in this video I'm just going to talk a little bit about that. It's a really personal view. This isn't the view of my employer or where I work, it is my personal view, but I think it might be interesting for you to hear. So grab a cup of tea and join me and we'll get going. So the first reason that this is important is there's something known as the proximity effect. And that basically means that the people you see most at work are the people that you end up giving opportunities to. If you can think about it from your boss's perspective, if they come out of a meeting and they've got a problem to solve and they see someone who can solve it, they're going to give it to that first person. So if you're not in the room or you're not in the office, you might miss out on these ad hoc off-the-cuff opportunities, which mean that you don't get past challenging projects or new opportunities because essentially someone gets in there first. Another thing about not being in the office so much is the networking and the kind of the casual cups of coffee you might have. Obviously a lot of us have been doing virtual coffees or virtual networking over Zoom and Teams over the pandemic, but I think that might drop away a little bit as some people return to the offices and there is the chance to go for lunch or go for a physical coffee with people. So again, if you're not physically at work, then it might just stop some of those spontaneous, fun and slightly more fun things happening. So the reason I kind of think this is such a female issue is when I talk to, I know from my own experience and when I talk to lots of colleagues, obviously as women we tend to either pick more of the mental load up at home. So even if we're not doing the housework or the cooking or the cleaning, we are organising all of those things, be it having a cleaner, the food delivery service or whatever. So the mental load is more on us. And also the whole childcare and caring responsibilities, be it for younger children or for ageing or elderly parents or anyone else in our lives who might need some additional care. It's often women who pick up that burden. And so for us, it's really tempting to pick a more working at home model because we can fit some of those things in more easily. And of course, there's absolutely nothing wrong with us and we all have to make our own choices around that. But we do have to be cognizant that that might end up to a kind of workplace which is only staffed by very junior people or very senior people, and I'm kind of worried that there's going to be a whole group of people in the middle who aren't going to get some of those opportunities because they're not as physically present in the office. The flexibility offered may well be taken up more by women. I have had lots of conversations during the pandemic about how it's really handy to pop a wash on during lunch or be able to do some other household chore. None of those conversations have been with men. I mean, interestingly, men have raised spending more time at home and their children and fitness regimes and stuff, but it's not been about the mental load, about homework and the domesticity that kind of goes with it. Currently in the UK, only 2% of men take up shared parental leave, so it's still very much a female issue that kind of picks up some of that load at home. Now, don't get me wrong, women have always had these struggles about the balance between our home lives and our careers. And actually, often high-performing women are married to high-performing men or high-performing partners. And so there isn't that kind of natural balance of one partner taking more of a load at home than the other. So don't get me wrong, this isn't a new set of challenges and something that women haven't struggled for ages. However, I just feel like the concept of hybrid working and the kind of soft power type, some of the choices we're going to have to make may naturally women may come down one side, and that might slightly disadvantage us in the long run. So what can you do if you are worried about this? So firstly, think about how hybrid working will fit best into your life. And as I say, there may be times when actually it's just not possible to go to the office, and that's absolutely fine. But make an effort when it is possible to perhaps go and to schedule those days so that you can make the most of them when you're in. I'm going to do a separate video on how to manage your time with hybrid working that might be worth checking out. But just think about how that's going to work in practicality. And don't be afraid to express to your boss or your team members where you have capacity or where you're looking for new opportunities or new challenges, so that when projects come up or opportunities present themselves, you are first in their mind. So that helps you get over the fact that you're not in the room because you've already expressed that idea that you want to try a new challenge or do something over and above. And so people will remember that when the time comes. Schedule coffee dates, and these can be virtual if that works better for your diary, but make a conscious effort not just to talk about work. So we can come very transactional when we're remote and just talk about what needs to get done, all the kind of the work and stuff. And what we will miss is that water cooler chat that people might be having in the office about TV or what happened. So make sure that when you are having virtual catch-ups that you put an element of the social or the relationship building or the networking as part of it. So you're not losing out on that wider connection piece, that's also going to help you build your network and make stronger relationships at work. One thing that women are really good at is building our networks, but we don't often recognise that because we just don't really think about it in that way. We think networking is really formal and with like a tepid glass of white wine in some horrible conference room. But I'm sure if you think about your wider life, whether it's your yoga class, your school drop-off, whatever it is, that actually you have this really wide network. So you're really able to do this. We just don't like doing it in a really kind of transactional way that kind of business sometimes feels like. So just make sure that you're making the most of your network, have conversations, ask people about what they do, see how it's relevant to what you're doing, and see if there are any like link ups or connections. I always used to treat work as work and then my like social and personal life as like one other thing, and I never really saw that there was a crossover or connection between them. But actually it turned out that the fitness class I've been going to for years was fully staffed of exactly who my target market was, but I'd never thought about thinking about linking those in. So think about your wider network, think about how you can leverage that without having to do that horrible, awkward, business focused networking. And finally, don't be afraid to make your career aspirations known. Like have regular catch-ups with your manager or your boss, but also express what you'd like to see in a year, 2 years, 5 years for your career, so that people know where your aspirations are and what you want to achieve. By setting out your stall, it will help them to guide your place in the team, but also for them to identify when they can pass opportunities or different work to you, which is just going to allow you to have access to some of those things. Not being in the office can be a bit of a disadvantage, but I think it is useful for women to think about how they can strategically manage that, so they can get the most out of the hybrid working for their work-life balance, their fitness, their health, their mental health, and all the other responsibilities that women take on board, but not at the cost of your career, because ultimately that's going to be damaging in the long run. My day job is a partner in a large accounting firm where I lead a team of around 50 people across like a geographically diverse space. So I know lots of the challenges that people are having with this. I'd love to hear what your challenges are, or perhaps what you've done to overcome that, or perhaps how you've even changed your job or other things to compensate for it. So leave a comment below. Love it if you like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.